Elon Musk is not trying to reach Mars. He is building the operating system for a civilization on Mars. And if that sounds extreme, stay with me because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why this perspective completely changes how you understand Tesla, SpaceX, and Elon's entire ecosystem. More importantly, this way of thinking helps you stop reacting to headlines and start thinking like a long-term infrastructure investor. If you're a Tesla investor, a future-focused technologist, or someone who cares about where this world is heading, this video will give you a much deeper framework than car sales or delivery numbers. Let's begin. Hi, this is Ken. Recently, we talked about two big ideas on this channel. First, that SpaceX is not fundamentally a rocket company. It is becoming a space infrastructure company. Second, that Tesla is not fundamentally an EV company. It is becoming a planetary energy and autonomy infrastructure company. Today, I want to go one level higher than both of those ideas, because even if you accept those two frames, you can still miss the larger pattern. Most people believe Elon Musk's ultimate goal is to go to Mars. I think that framing is already outdated. Going to Mars is not the hard part. The real challenge is creating a situation where humans can live, work, produce, and sustain a civilization on Mars. Travel is just the opening move. Civilization is the game. Once you shift your thinking this way, something interesting happens. You stop seeing Elon Musk as a serial entrepreneur who happens to run many companies, and you start seeing him as a systems architect who is assembling components. He is not building companies, he is building parts of a much larger machine. Think about it like this. If you wanted to design a brand new civilization from scratch, what would you absolutely need? At minimum, you would need the ability to move people and goods, the ability to communicate, reliable energy, computing and intelligence, a workforce, and safe places to live. These are not business categories. These are civilizational requirements. Now, let's look at Elon's companies through this lens. Not as brands, not as stock tickers, but as functional layers in a single stack. Let's start with SpaceX. Rockets are not the product. Rockets are the transportation layer. They move people, equipment, raw materials, and eventually industrial hardware. Starlink is not just satellite internet. It is a global and eventually interplanetary communications grid. Then you have Elon openly talking about orbital data centers and massive compute in space. That is the computation layer. So inside SpaceX alone, you already see three foundational pieces: transport, communication, computation. That is not exploration, that is infrastructure. Now let's move to Tesla. Tesla builds solar generation. Tesla builds grid-scale batteries. Tesla builds vehicle batteries. Tesla builds energy management software. This is not about cars. This is about energy autonomy. A civilization that cannot reliably generate and store its own energy does not survive. And on Mars, you don't get to import oil tankers or plug into legacy grids. You must be self-sufficient from day one. Tesla is quietly solving that problem. Notice something important here. SpaceX is building infrastructure in space. Tesla is building infrastructure on planetary surfaces. Two different environments, same design philosophy, but we're still missing a critical component. Who actually does the work? This is where Optimus enters the picture. Most people see Optimus as a factory automation story, and yes, that is part of it. But think about Mars. There is no local labor force. Humans are extremely expensive to transport. Humans require life support, food, oxygen, and protection from radiation. Robots do not. The first workforce on Mars will not be human. It will be robotic. Optimus is not just a product, it is a labor layer for environments where humans cannot easily operate. Now pause for a moment and look at the pattern forming. SpaceX gives transport, communication, and compute. Tesla gives energy. Optimus gives labor. We're starting to see something that looks less like a portfolio and more like a blueprint. But there is still one massive piece missing: shelter. Where do these systems actually exist? Mars is a hostile environment. Radiation levels are high, temperature swings are extreme, dust storms are frequent. Building surface level cities first would be incredibly risky. The most logical solution is underground habitats. Underground environments provide radiation shielding, they stabilize temperature, they allow integrated zones for living, manufacturing, and farming. This is where the Boring Company suddenly makes a lot more sense. On Earth, it is framed as a traffic solution. On Mars, it is a habitat construction company. Tunnel boring technology is underground city technology. It is not glamorous, but it is essential. So when you step back, what do you actually see? Not separate companies, not random ventures, but a civilization bill of materials: transport, communication, compute, energy, labor, shelter. At this point, a bigger question naturally arises: why build all of this on Earth first? That's where things get really interesting. Earth is the test environment. Earth is where you validate physics, where you refine manufacturing, where you drive costs down, where you learn what scales and what doesn't. Only mature systems make it off-world. In other words, Earth is the prototype. Mars is the production deployment. If you view Elon's ecosystem through this lens, headlines start to feel very different. A new Tesla battery architecture, another SpaceX launch, Optimus learning new tasks, a Boring Company tunnel project. These are not isolated news events. They are progress updates on a single long-term design. And this is where I want to slow things down and speak directly to long-term investors. Because this perspective completely changes what risk and volatility mean. You're no longer just evaluating quarterly performance. You're evaluating whether a civilization-scale architecture is moving forward. Short-term price swings become noise. Long-term capability expansion becomes the signal. In the second half of this video, I'll dive deeper into what this framework means for Tesla's valuation, how autonomy fits into this picture, and why I believe we are still massively underestimating the scale of what's being built. So stay with me. Now let's talk about where autonomy fits into this entire framework, because autonomy is not just a feature, it is the nervous system of this civilization stack. On Earth, we tend to think about autonomy in terms of convenience: self-driving cars, robotaxis, automated factories. Useful, yes, but from a systems perspective, autonomy is something much bigger. It is what allows a civilization to scale without linear increases in human labor. If every new factory required thousands of humans, if every transport system required constant human supervision, if every energy asset required manual operation, growth would always be capped. Autonomy removes that ceiling. This is why Tesla's full-stack approach matters so much. Tesla designs its own hardware, its own AI chips, its own training infrastructure, its own software stack. This is not about vertical integration for margin. It is about owning the intelligence layer in a future where billions of machines operate across Earth and eventually beyond Earth. Who controls the intelligence that runs those machines, controls the civilization layer. Tesla is positioning itself to be that intelligence provider. Now zoom out even further. If SpaceX is creating the transport and communication backbone, if Tesla is creating the energy and autonomy backbone, then you start to see Tesla less as an automaker. and more as a planetary operating system company. That sounds abstract, so let me make it concrete. On Mars, a rover is useless without energy. Energy is useless without storage. Storage is useless without software to manage it. Software is useless without compute. Compute is useless without communication. Communication is useless without transport to deploy the hardware. Everything is interdependent. This is why Elon keeps everything under loosely coordinated companies instead of one giant conglomerate. Each company specializes, but the architecture is unified. This also explains something that confuses many investors: why Tesla keeps reinvesting instead of maximizing short-term profits, why margins fluctuate, why spending looks aggressive. Because Tesla is not optimizing for this quarter. It is optimizing for capability accumulation. Every factory built, every gigawatt hour of battery capacity added, every training cluster expanded. These are capability assets, not just revenue assets. Traditional valuation models struggle with this. They try to fit Tesla into auto industry multiples, or energy company multiples, or software company multiples. But Tesla is slowly becoming all three, and eventually something closer to infrastructure. Infrastructure businesses behave differently. They take a long time to build. They require heavy, upfront capital, but once established, they generate extremely durable cash flows. Think railroads, think electrical grids, think telecommunications networks. Tesla is moving into that category. Now let's bring this back to Mars for a moment, because Mars is not really about Mars. Mars is the forcing function. It forces extreme efficiency, extreme integration, extreme autonomy, and every breakthrough required for Mars makes Tesla and SpaceX more valuable on Earth. A battery that works in harsh Martian environments is an incredible Earth battery. A robot that can operate in low pressure, high radiation environments is an incredible Earth robot. A communication system that works across planets is an unbeatable Earth network. Mars is not a distraction. It is the hardest possible design constraint, and hard constraints produce the best engineering. So what does all of this mean for you as a long-term Tesla investor? It means your real bet is not on next year's deliveries. It is not even on the next vehicle platform. Your real bet is that Tesla continues to expand its role as an energy, autonomy, and intelligence infrastructure provider. If that happens, Tesla's addressable market is not measured in millions of cars. It is measured in planetary scale energy consumption, planetary scale automation, planetary scale computation. That is a very different order of magnitude. It also means patience becomes a competitive advantage. Most people cannot hold a stock through years of heavy reinvestment. They want smooth earnings. They want predictability. Civilization builders do not operate on that timeline. They operate on decades. And that brings me to my personal conclusion. I don't think Elon Musk's core mission is Mars. I don't think it is cars. I don't think it is rockets. I think it is ensuring that intelligent life becomes multi-planetary and resilient. Everything else is implementation detail. When you see Tesla through this lens, you stop asking, will Tesla sell more cars next quarter? And you start asking, is Tesla increasing its capability to power, automate, and run large portions of future civilization? As long as the answer to that question remains yes, short-term volatility becomes survivable. Long-term compounding remains intact. So my message to you as a fellow long-term investor is simple. Zoom out. Think in decades. Watch capabilities, not headlines. And remember, you're not just investing in a company. You're investing in the early scaffolding of a future civilization. Thanks for watching today. If you found this perspective valuable, give the video a like. And if you're interested in deeper, long-term thinking about Tesla, AI, and the future of civilization, consider subscribing. I post every day. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Before we wrap up, let me take a moment to introduce myself. I drive a Tesla Model Y, and at home, I've installed a Tesla Powerwall, so I actually charge my car with solar energy. I truly believe Tesla is shaping the future, and that's why I share the latest news and insights here on this channel. I'm from Japan, but I want to connect with Tesla fans all around the world. That's why I also create an English version of my videos. YouTube now lets you switch the audio into your own language, so you can enjoy it in whatever language you prefer. Most of all, I'd love to connect with Tesla fans everywhere so we can support Tesla together. I also share updates on X, so feel free to follow me there and let's connect. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.